This is Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius.
Welcome on inside. Behind the Mic is live here on Talk Radio 790 KABC on this Friday night, December the 14th, 2018. Brad Dalius along with Keith Jackson coming your way here on 790 AM. We're going football heavy tonight. It is a football Friday, getting you prepared for Week 15 here across the National Football League. A lot of games to get into. We'll start here tonight, Keith, with the Rams because this is one of the biggest matchups you can make the case here this week, hosting the Eagles over at the Coliseum. Sunday Night Football. Obviously, big game, more so, well, for both teams at this point because the Eagles are still mathematically alive in the playoff race. And then you look at the Rams who are still competing, potentially trying to get that number one seed in the NFC. However you slice it, huge game overall, big implications. And probably the biggest storyline in this game is that Carson Wentz is going to be out for Philadelphia. Insert Nick Foles.
Yeah, this is an interesting situation because personally, when I heard about this, there's been a lot has been said about Carson Wentz in terms of should he be starting? Is he the guy for the Eagles? Remember, they talked about that last year. If he's the guy of the Eagles, is it Nick Foles? And they kept Nick Foles for situations like this. And I personally think, to be honest with you, man, I just think that, Carson Wentz, I think they're sitting him out. I think they're benching him. I don't think it has nothing to do with, I think they're coming out and saying this is vertebrae, it's fractured vertebrae, whatever it is. But I really do think personally that they want to go in another direction and they want Nick Foles. Hopefully Nick Foles can get them back into the playoff form and they're trying to try something new. So what perfect world to do this? I think it's more of it's a sense of like, we don't want to embarrass Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is our guy, our franchise guy here. We don't want to embarrass him in a way. He just hasn't been playing well, but we're not going to say we benched him. We're going to lean it on, he has a fractured vertebrae or wherever the case may be, because it's just odd. It's just a situation where I'm like, wait a minute. He's been playing with banged up every body the whole season, and so now all of a sudden you bench him when you're like trying to get into the playoffs because he hasn't gotten you really over the hump.
That's fascinating because you're the first person I've heard to actually float that theory out there. And look, I mean, he did have a CT scan, and he's had some back problems before. And really, for me, the big thing here is the injuries, how they have piled up, and that's really my biggest concern for Carson Wentz, regardless of his play on the field. Just talking about the injury history, whole bunch of injuries for a guy who's still fairly young and a guy that they would deem to be the franchise quarterback there for the next 10 years plus. I don't buy into the notion, by the way, also that Nick Foles is going to come in and be a savior,
exactly,
and basically have a repeat of last year. I don't see that exactly. I think this is a very difficult game for them, difficult situation to come into here for them to go. But I think the biggest thing for the Eagles, the biggest problem all year has been they've just been inconsistent. It hasn't been more so like they've been looking for a player who's been out and down for the count the whole year. They get him back, that cures all. They've had guys shuffled in and out. Injuries, we talked about Alshon Jeffries being in and out a whole lot this year. That, to me, injuries hasn't really been a big problem for them. It's been more so just the consistency.
Yeah, definitely the consistency. And, and look, to me, be honest with you, man, they have a whole different scheme that they run with Nick Foles than what they run with Carson Wentz. And so, for teams that are going to go against them right now, you got to really go back into the playbook of what you had when Nick Foles was in there last year. You got to dig deep into last year's playbook because this playbook is going to be completely different style of play than what you saw with Carson Wentz. So, but I honestly look. I honestly feel, I told you this was a situation when Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, they need to figure that was the situation they're going to get into in terms of like, who are they going to lean on? Are they going to go to Carson Wentz or Nick Foles? Well, when it's all said and done, You always go with your guy when you need him at the right set time, and who they're going with right now, Nick Foles. They have rolled Carson Wentz all the way out. It's been very inconsistent this whole season with his play. Actually, and to be honest with you, Brad, look at his play. His accurate long throwing balls have not been accurate at all. Like his long throwing balls that he's been throwing down the field, he hasn't been accurate. He's been overthrowing receivers. His timing is just all off right now. And I think now they want to make a decision that, hey, we don't want to make it a bad, shed a bad light on this. We love Carson Wentz, and Philly loves him. But we got to do something where Nick Foles got to be inserted in the lineup. And you know what kind of headlines that would bring if they said they bench Carson Wentz. That would be crazy headlines.
Yeah,
so
I don't think.
Why make the distraction and just say, hey, he's injured. We got to send him out.
I guess it's possible. I don't buy into that they're benching him because he still, in my book, gives them the best chance to win.
I don't know about
regardless
that,
of what Nick Foles did last year.
I don't think so. Like, see, that's where I have to disagree with you. I think Nick Foles fits perfect in what they do, what Doug Peterson wants. I think he's just and I just think right now he's the better quarterback.
He can't throw the ball though as deep, and look, their biggest problem this year is
accuracy. But accuracy, it doesn't matter about deep balls. I don't care if you can't throw it 80, 60, 70 yards. I mean, you really.
Well, how about scoring a lot of points? Because that's been the big problem this year. They've really struggled to score points. I mean, they're averaging just about 22 points a game. The Rams, on the contrast, over 32 points a game. You're going to have to score a lot of points if you want to win this type of game for the Eagles. But I just don't think they could do it. And Nick Foles, to me, is not the guy who's going to come in and add more points to your total.
Yeah, but he's going to bring a whole different dynamic. He knows how to win games, and he's proven that. He's proven that this whole season. He's won a Super Bowl for him. He's won 4 straight in the playoffs. I mean, in terms of playoff forms, right now, you're in playoff mode, all these teams. Rams have some stipulations if they lose. Eagles have some stipulations if they lose. You go across the board. There's a lot of teams right now that are pretty much every team in the league is not clear, is out to clear, right? In terms of some people have locked in playoffs, but they're playing for seeding right now.
Well, most teams haven't clinched any playoff berths.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody's playing for seeding too. And so when you look at this, man, think about it. Just think about this for a second. You have a Carson Wentz who's injured, right?
Yep.
You're in playoff time right now. You're still trying to make the playoffs. This is the time that, man, ankle sprain, whatever those injuries are that you're having, you got to out there and you got to continue to play, man. Look, Derek Carr played with a broken with the broken back last year. Remember that? And when they were trying,
I don't think he actually had a broken back.
Well, didn't he break? He broke his spine, or it was his. Yes, he had a cracked vertebrae. Matter of fact, cracked vertebrae last year. Last year, remember, because we said he should not be playing. We said this. I remember we was talking about he should not be playing. He's still out there and he's still hurt. And he got a muscle. He had a crack. He had a crack.
We know
bone
he was
in his
banged
back.
But one way or
He
another.
had a crack bone in his back.
But he was a shell of himself out there.
Yeah, and we were like, why is he still playing? Matter of fact, he had a cracked rib. That's what it was. He had a cracked rib, and he was still playing.
Regardless, so he was a shell of himself.
Yeah.
He couldn't put up the same type of numbers.
Yeah, exactly. He was playing well last year. And we were saying the whole thing, he should not be out there. He is still hurt. One hit from him, and he's finished. He's done, right? But
which is more of a reason why they're keeping Carson Wentz out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. Is like you still have a guy here who's, yes, they're keeping him out, but in these situations when you're trying to make the playoffs, like, man, like you get like, this is all or nothing now. There's 3 games left. Guys, I understand the injuries you got. I know you got the hamstring injury, but we need you out there to run this slot. We need you out there to run this 5-yard slot slam. We'll limit your time, but we're going to need you out there.
And that's just the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, last week, they kept getting burned by Amari Cooper down there in Dallas and kept giving up big plays, big scores, big everything. That's another big reason for concern. Literally, their offense and their defense have been identical this year as far as like inconsistency goes, a whole bunch of the time.
Yeah.
And this week, you got to bring it defensively to beat the Rams because they're not going to let up. We know that for sure with what they're able to bring potency-wise on offense. I just think this is a really, really difficult spot for them. They're such a different team, the Eagles are, this year compared to last year when they went into this game late in the season against the Rams. This year, they can't score. They can't score as many points, and that's why I'm led to believe, actually, I don't think this is really going to be a close game at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think so neither. I definitely don't think so neither. I know Eagles going to fight. They're going to fight to the end, and you just never know. It can be it's hard to tell, Brad, to be honest with you. I think, honestly, look, I think the Rams will probably run away with it. But in the back of my mind, I'm having a lingering. I'm still not giving up on the Eagles, man, because I just see what happened with Nick Foles, what he's done last year. And it's really like more of a spark, not like a letdown. And just a correction, yes, Derek Carr, it was a back injury last year that he played. It was a back injury. He had a broken one of his vertebrae in the back, and he still played. So that's my point, is like they were trying to he got injured during that Denver Broncos game.
That's right.
But
I think Philly's concern is long term here with Carson Wentz.
That's what I'm saying. I think, and that's another point, is they want to go long term with him, but it's a situation here that that Nick Foles, you got to give him that shot. He's won the Super Bowl he's won 4 playoff games. You trying to get into the playoffs right now. Carson Wentz hasn't done a great job of keeping you guys in there, so you got to go. You got to look elsewhere. So I'm and like I said, his throws have been, his timing's been off.
Final score prediction.
Final score prediction. I'm gonna go with. At the end of the day, I think this is going to be close, but I think it would be a 21-17 game.
Rams take it.
Rams.
Yeah, I like the home team as well. I'm actually going to go 34-17 on this one. I think they won by a couple of scores. Coming up, we'll take a look at a big showdown matchup in the AFC this week, and that being New England traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. We'll get into some other matchups later on as well. Keep it locked right here. It's Behind the Mic, KABC Radio. Welcome back inside Behind the Mic here on KABC Radio. Brad and Keith hanging out, taking you up until 12 midnight, breaking down some of the biggest games across the NFL here in Week 15. We touched on the Rams showdown against the Eagles before the break. Now we're going to get into this big AFC matchup, that being, of course, the Steelers hosting the Patriots. It seems like every time these two teams hook up, it's for a big-time matchup. A lot is on the line, whether it be seeding-wise, divisional races up for grabs, you name it, home field. This one is no different, and obviously the MO here of the Steelers as of late has been that they crumble in big-time games, and the Patriots have really owned this rivalry, if you want to call it that, as of late. And really, when I look at it, Keith, and it's been a roller coaster year kind of for both teams, we can look at Pittsburgh first and how obviously they've been on this losing streak, losing to the Raiders last week, and how at the beginning of the season, there was a whole lot of pressure on Mike Tomlin and for this team to not only get back to the postseason, win some playoff games, but really get to the Super Bowl. And then they started to win some games, and that pressure went away again. But once again, I think it's been ratcheted back up. And I mean, when you look at Tomlin's postseason record, he's only 8-7. I mean, he's nearly 500 in the postseason there. We know the tail of the tape, hasn't won a Super Bowl in a decade. It's been quite a long time. And we saw a coach recently, that being McCarthy with the Packers, being let go here mid-season, having a Super Bowl victory in his back pocket in the past, and they were able to part ways with him. So at this point, I mean, it's no guarantee that Pittsburgh even makes the postseason. But what do they really have to do realistically this year for Tomlin really to come back, or to, if you believe,
in the hot seat, pretty much what you're saying?
Right, exactly. If you believe he truly could be fired at this season, what would he really have to do realistically? Super Bowl?
I think Super Bowl. I think getting that Super Bowl to be in the clear. But I even say not just even in consideration of staying or giving him another year, AFC Championship for sure.
Yeah, he
has to get an AFC Championship this year. It's for me, honestly, to be considered to being the coach next year. And that's still keeping him on the hot seat that you haven't sent us to the promised land. But if he gets to the Super Bowl, then yes. If he gets them to the Super Bowl, then yes. Then I think he'll be in the clear. But the bottom line is this, man. The Steelers, what they need is, I think also your personnel of your team comes from your coach.
Yep.
Players tend to get their coach's attitude. And I think Mike Tomlin is a great coach, number one. However, I just think that sometimes he is too loose of a coach. And that's what makes his team to be honest with you, they have issues of being disciplined on the field, and they lose games that way because of their not being disciplined. I think that's the difference between them and a Belichick, where Belichick just doesn't take any stuff, and that's why you're seeing like the revamp of Josh Gordon.
Yes,
because he needs a coach like that type of person who's not gonna. It's just black. It's black and white, you know.
Simple.
And I think just Mike Tomlin's more of like. It's more colorful. It's like, oh, you're a grown man. You can do what you want. You know what you're supposed to be doing. You're raised a certain way, blah, blah, blah. That's how it is with him. And he's a little bit more lenient on the guys. And that's why you see the things that's happened even last year with AB in the locker room. The Le'Veon Bell situation. I even think the Le'Veon Bell situation could have been a different situation for them if, depending on the coach, man. I just think that that whole looseness they have to them is what really affects their play and their team. So, this game right here that is going to be a great matchup. Yes, a great rivalry. One thing about it, if New England is down in this game, you can never count them out because Pittsburgh is undisciplined. They don't know how to really close out games. And have they done that the whole year? Not even like teams that they played that are even below standards. Like, come on, you lose to the Raiders. You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, that has nothing to deal with Brad talent. That has to deal with just discipline. Letting teams back in the game.
That happens all the time with them.
It happens in the team, and they hurt themselves. So that's been the Achilles heel of their whole entire team this year. I'll say this though: if they lose this week to the New England Patriots, man, I don't think they get into the playoffs.
It's possible they don't because Baltimore is right there on their heels at 7-6 and could still potentially win the North.
Yeah.
So you can't count them out.
Baltimore can't lose another game because if they go head to head, then if it's a head to head with Baltimore and Pittsburgh, who won that? Was that Baltimore? Pittsburgh won that.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh will win it, so they'll squeeze in. But what I'm thinking is that if they lose this game, you know why? Because this really tests right now. The Pittsburgh Steelers are in a situation where their character is being tested.
Yes. And
here you go against a team that this week that really you have a Bill Belichick that came out and said, as reported, that it was my fault we lost that game. And you know those players are going to play for Belichick, and they're going to go out there and say, this is the Patriot way, and we're going to get it done, and we need to get it done. They don't want to go to 0-2 down the stretch here with these games, especially with the seeding and stake. I mean, they still have a great opportunity, depending on what the Chargers do. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, and obviously it's a vitally important game for the Steelers because they take on the Saints next week. So if they can't get a victory this week, they're in big-time trouble there next week as well, and then trying to finish out the regular season. So that's a big thing to hone in on. And again, I really want to see from like a New England perspective, we haven't seen them, they haven't been able to really impose their will this year on really any team for the most part. They've had a hard time being consistent, having consistent drives on offense. Talked a lot about Josh Gordon. We've seen a whole bunch of flashes from, flash, no pun intended. But I think, again, this is a Rob Gronkowski type game. It really is. Last year, he absolutely killed the defensive backs for Pittsburgh, and I think Brady's going to look his way a whole lot more again. And
well, they started to. I mean, even in that Miami game, he started to look for Gronk a little bit more and stuff. And I honestly think, to be honest with you, why they're not looking for him as much is because, yes, he's injured, and they know they need to save him for the playoffs.
Yeah,
and they know they're going to need him. You know, you want to go into the playoffs having a healthy Gronkowski,
totally,
which he's not right now. He's still probably maybe 80%.
It looks like he's getting there, but not fully.
And then you want to have a healthy Julian Edelman. You want your whole squad there. You know, towards the end of the game. That's why I even realized, like, why didn't they play James White a lot? Maybe he's a little banged up as well, and they kind of reserve him as well. So there's a reason behind everything. I think Josh Gordon probably won't get as much looks even this week because he's been taking hits. and big ones, and making big plays. So you need that guy in the playoffs.
It's an Edelman and a Gronkowski type game.
Yeah.
That's exactly the two guys to look out for in this one. And can the Steelers defense slow it down? I mean, that's really the biggest thing. And then you'd figure this is going to be high scoring. And it probably should be a lot similar to last year's game, because I don't think anyone really thinks also the Patriots defense is going to be able to slow down Pittsburgh's offense.
It's just not. And
Roethlisberger's a little beat up too. And of course he's going to play in this game, but that's something to monitor.
But here's the thing you got as a true test. This is a true test for their defense, because their secondary has sucked a whole year, as we all know. And here you go with a situation where you have two dynamic receivers.
Yes.
Juju Schuster-Smith, and you got AB. And, man, do they rip it up like no other. And so you're talking big plays. What do the Patriots give up? They give up big plays. And so they're really going to be tested. In terms of character and a true test, it's really that pressure is going to come on that defense. Because if that defense can get themselves together, the Patriots would have no problem winning this game. I'm more leaning towards like a 80-20% chance. 80% chance they'll win, 20% chance the Steelers will take it. So that's where I'm leaning towards with this.
Yeah, I think it's more closer than that, just because, again, how close last year's game was. I think both these teams have the potential to put on a show here. We've seen that in the past, and really it just comes down to the mind games that the Steelers tend to get themselves tangled up in when they play teams like New England. And really, can the Patriots actually get a signature road victory in 2018? Because probably their best road victory to date is against the Bears, which is impressive. But other than that, we know all 4 losses for New England have been on the road.
Yeah, and let me tell you something else, though, that we honestly have not been looking at this situation here. We've been jumping on the defense. We've been jumping on the offense and certain players. But one player who's really in the hot seat that may get messed around and get cut by the end of the season or before the season starts is Steven Gronkowski, their kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has been inconsistent. He has lost. I mean, to be honest with you, even the game they played against Miami, had he made his 30-yarders, chip shots, this game would have been over. But I'm talking about not just this game, but I'm just talking about the inconsistent plays, misses that he has had this season.
I hear you.
It's been a lot of them.
Here's the thing, though. It's who's really a kicker who's been ultra successfully consistent outside of him, outside of Tucker.
Janikowski's been great this year. I can go down the line. Crosby's been all right too this year. I mean, there hasn't. He's
had games though where he's missed multiple kicks.
Yeah, but Steve Gronkowski. I mean, Adam Vinatieri, one of the oldest kickers in the league, or probably the older kicker in the league, is still been consistent. Steven Gronkowski is a future in terms of he's supposed to be top 5 kickers in the league. And he has not been consistent at all this year. And that's a big worry when your team's really second guessing. Should we go for it at the 30-yard line or the 20-yard line, or move it to the right side hash mark because our kicker just missed a 32-yarder? You go through those situations right there where you should be second guess yourself. So I honestly think that he's in a little hot seat right now, and he's got to pick it up himself.
A quick break, and we're back for more after this. Great to have you with us as we move it along here on this Friday night. Brad and Keith talking a whole lot of NFL football. Rams and Eagles, of course, coming up Sunday night over at the Coliseum. We discussed that one earlier on. We did a little Patriots Steelers there before the break. Now we got to touch on Jalen Ramsey, Keith, because, of course, he's chirping once again. His favorite thing to do here, even more so than playing football, if you can imagine that, in 2018. And they play this week the Washington Redskins. They host them down there in Jacksonville, and Washington is somewhat teetering and trying to hold on to whatever playoff lives they have left at this point at 6-7. And of course, meanwhile, the Jaguars are just trying to continue to compile wins here at the end of the season, 4-9. What of course has been a disappointing campaign in 2018 for those guys. But let's talk about Jalen Ramsey. And again, this is nothing new, but he comes out this week and says that if the Jaguars want to continue to have him down there on their team, they need to start negotiating now. And I say, why?
Yeah.
Why? If you're Jacksonville, What's the rush? There's no high demand for him across the league at this point. Not when you're in a situation where you're 4-9. Your team is 4-9, and you haven't exactly been the shutdown corner you have been in the past year, like that you were last year. It's been much, much different. Obviously, this team has not been the same team that they were in 2017. And obviously, we know the big part of it is because the offense has stunk. It has stunk up the joint, but the defense hasn't been that great either.
It's been a debacle over there, like all the way from top to bottom. And so when I look at this team right now, man, Jalen Ramsey don't need to say anything. He just needs to really focus on finishing the season out and then worry about that at the end of the season. I mean, why continue? It feels like he just wants to be in the media and in the limelight all the time. If you think about all the stuff he has done, just think about this. He's talked about Odell Beckham. He's made shots at him. He's made shots at Odell Beckham in terms of saying that he can't handle me or whatever. He's made it about him. What happened there? They lost, right? They lost that game, I believe, against the Giants. And then you go down the river over here, you talk Josh Allen. He talks about Josh Allen. He talks about how he's trash. And all these teams he's talked about, they've come out and put it to the Jaguars. So basically what I'm saying is he put pressure on the Jaguars that they weren't ready to handle. And they couldn't handle. They weren't ready for that. And so when I look and start analyzing the season and I start analyzing a player, I look at it like this. Okay, yeah, I got a Pro Bowl athlete here, right? But we're 4-9 or whatever the end of the season, whatever the outcome is, we don't make the playoffs. Last year we were close to making it to the Super Bowl. And then this year I have a player that's constantly in the media, talking trash talk, putting targets on our team's back, and not backing it up. Why do I need to sign somebody like that? Or why would I even consider right now negotiating deals to get him back?
Especially when you look across the league at some of the other top tier corners.
It goes back to what I'm saying, Brad. It's all about me and not the team, and that's the thing about Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey makes it all the time about him and not his team. And he's to me, man, a selfish player. He's a selfish player. And he doesn't, and I don't know this man outside of what I see, but this is what I see. He may be completely different. He may be a generous guy and looks out and gives people gifts or whatever the case may be, helps out. He's maybe not that type of player, but to me, looking outside in, and I'm just analyzing him by what I see and what's reported, every time you see a headline for Jacksonville Jaguar, it's a headline of a statement Jalen Ramsey has made, and it's something attacking another person. And so he puts a bullseye on his team's back that doesn't need to be right now. And when they're going through these whole things of adversity of who to start for a quarterback, or trades from their defensive front that they have, the trades that they've had, people they've lost, and so he puts a lot of pressure on them, and so for that, I don't think that it's the right move to talk about negotiating. I'm talking about what can we do to get our team better, not what can we do to give Jalen Ramsey some more money to stay here. That's my point. So, and
if I go through, let's just go through a couple of these guys right here. Some of the other top corners in the league, just comparing him to at this point. Who would you rather have? Marcus Peters or Jalen Ramsey?
I'll go with Jalen Ramsey with that one.
It's close though.
It's close, but Marcus Peters can't guard nobody.
Josh Norman.
Ooh, Josh Norman or Jalen Ramsey? Josh Norman in his prime. I would go with Josh Norman in his prime. But right now, Josh Norman for Jalen Ramsey, I'll go Jalen.
Maybe more so just looking at it as who's better for the team.
Who's better for the – okay, if you go better for the team, if we're talking better for the team, then I'm going Josh Norman because Josh Norman makes it about the team, not about him.
How about Marshawn Lattimore down there with the Saints?
Yeah. I'm rolling with Marshawn Lattimore again because he makes it about the team. He doesn't talk about me. He talks about the team. Jalen Ramsey, again – That's the thing. Even Patrick Peterson, we can hit that route too. Patrick Peterson, another guy who's all about his team. Think about what he's doing over there at Arizona. I mean, he's frustrated.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
He's frustrated, but who wouldn't be in that situation? And he's stuck out with that team for many years, and now he has requested a trade, but. Has he ever called out certain players?
Never. No,
he's not done that.
No.
He just makes his play do the talking.
He requested a trade, and it really went on deaf's ears.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly,
everybody like, please, we're not getting rid of you.
Casey Hayward, the corner for the Chargers. I mean, another guy at this point you could say. Maybe take over Jalen Ramsey. My point really is here going through this is that there's all these guys right now, and for him to think that he is like the top corner in the league and that there's really no one else, and if they want me to start negotiating, like it doesn't really jive. It doesn't really go with what the current slate of things looks like right now across the league for the corner position. It doesn't make sense. He really thinks, I think, too highly. I really think that a lot of those guys down there on that Jaguars team think like him. Now, they might not say things publicly like him, but I think there was a lot of internal thinking like that. Mm-hmm. I think they thought way too highly of what they did last year in 2017. Yes. Way too highly. And they thought they could really just essentially come back and do the same thing this year, and things would just work out not only the same, but even better. Not the case at all. They really didn't do anything different.
No. I mean, there was
to improve themselves.
I don't think they didn't get better. They didn't add anything really. They kept the same team they had last year, and I agree with things like that. Why reinvent the wheel if it's rolling, right?
Yeah.
But in their situation, it wasn't that. What stopped them from performing well has been them. It has been their cockiness, their arrogance. Jalen Ramsey coming out saying we're going to be in the Super Bowl next year, or Odell Beckham is trash, or going to what I believe was ESPN or Esquire magazine or something like that at the beginning of the season and talked down just like trash so many players.
You named a bunch of the guys there earlier. It's just been crazy, right?
He said that he's mentioned and he's talked about. And so when you do that, what does that do for those players? Oh, it gives me motivation. I can't wait to get you out in the field. It's the same thing what Odell did to him. He killed him, even though they won, but he killed him. It's just, you're giving them extra motivation. Why do that? Every season's different. We're seeing that with the New England Patriots right now, right? Last year, they weren't having these same situations. They were up and down. They were a little bit more consistent. This year, man, they're inconsistent. You just don't know. You go down the line to these many other teams that were there last year. Chicago Bears, trash last year, right? Chicago Bears this year, we're talking possibly possibly Super Bowl. Teams change in a year, man. You can't come out and put targets on your team's back. And that's something they're not ready to handle right here off of just one season.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
So again, the Jags host the Redskins on Sunday. Meanwhile, for Washington, Alex Smith, we know he's done for the season.
Yeah.
At this point, you've heard the reports come out. It's not looking great. We know the injury is very much like Theismann's injury from 30 years ago, but now there's infections involved. And not only did the report come out that it could be a potential career-threatening injury, now it's getting to the territory that it could be potentially an injury that could cost him his leg at this point in time. So there's a lot. I think at this point, the main concern for Alex Smith has moved beyond football.
Yeah.
And just for his own personal health.
Yeah, I mean, wow, dude, that's just a huge travesty within itself, man. A possibility of losing your leg. I mean, I wouldn't know at this. I don't know, honestly, personally, me, I don't know what I would do in those situations. It's so fortunate. I'm really praying for him, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really am, because man, for an athlete to do what he's done all his life, and he needs the extremities to do that, not to be able now to be able to possibly not do that. It's just, man, it's really like, it's heart filling, and it is. And I just, my prayers are out to him and also the Redskins organization, because, that's their captain, that's their leader, and he's down, and now it has nothing more it's bigger than football now. And that's what's scary about it.
It is, and I think about him and how he's bounced around with so many teams, going back to his days with the Niners before Colin Kaepernick got in the mix there, and then they went to the Super Bowl, and they wound up moving him to Kansas City, and then having some good years with the Chiefs. Never could get over the hump there. Gets traded this offseason over to Washington. They have a great start to this season. Looks like they potentially could have won the NFC East if he would have stayed healthy, and obviously he goes down not just with a simple injury, but just a really, really difficult injury at this point in time. And like you said, Keith, that's the best way to sum it up. Everyone is just kind of praying for his recovery here, and even if he never plays football again, just so that his leg is able to be saved if possible.
And I'll say this, man, the Redskins really haven't bounced back from his injury.
No, not at all. It's been a disaster.
I think it's been a disaster for them. They haven't bounced back from that injury. Once he went down, they went down. His season, that's how much he affected that team. That's the scary thing about it, is that how are they able to move forward, so to speak, from that? And to knowing that, man, you're not only is your lead not going to be able to come back, possibly not come back, but he's possibly losing his leg off of this. You know, those are the type of things where you have to look at, and you're just like, and even if he doesn't lose his leg, Brad, let me tell you something, man, he ain't going to never be the same.
Yeah.
He's not. I don't care what type of physical therapy. If he's in a situation where he may lose his leg, then you're talking like ligament damage. You're talking maybe permanent, if they be able to salvage it, you're talking ligament damage permanently probably, or feeling in the leg, or muscle damage that's permanently there. So he's probably, you know, to be honest with you and knock on wood, may not be able to play football ever again. You know, that's what we're looking at. Even if he does, if they salvage the leg and the leg is going to be okay. You know, I really don't think he's going to be able to play football again.
It's Behind the Mic here on KABC Radio. We take a break. We come back for more after this. Final segment of the week here on Behind the Mic, KABC Radio. Let's go a little rapid fire now, Keith, and go through the rest of these games we haven't talked about so far tonight. We'll start in the Meadowlands, the Jets hosting the Houston Texans. Of course, Houston had that long winning streak there for the majority of the season. Finally came to an end last week, now at 9-4. The Jets 4-9. Who you got?
Man, it's in the Meadowlands. I'm going to go with I got to go with the Houston Texans, man. I gotta go with
Good choice. Smart choice on this one.
I was gonna try to go with the Jets, and I was like,
you're not feeling to pull it together. Win one for the Gipper for Todd Bowles here.
Yeah,
little swan song.
Yeah. The Houston Texans get their 10th win of the season.
Yeah, and with that, obviously, right, they moved to 10-4 and are still in the hunt.
Wait a minute, though,
for a potential bye.
Hold on a second. This game is played on a Saturday, which is interesting, and that can really throw this team off. I think the Houston Texans still win it, but I think it's going to be a tough game for the simple fact that it's turned on a different day. Those days kind of change, man, a little bit.
So 2 Saturday games. They do this a lot of times, like towards the end of the regular season. In the past, they'll have a couple games on Saturday. Why they do this, I can't say for sure, but they have done this in the past here. And you're right, that's the one Saturday game. Houston, absolutely, got to like them in this spot. And then the other Saturday game would be Denver hosting Cleveland.
Oh, man. You know what? I'm gonna say this, though. I think I'm going to go with Cleveland this week.
Oh, okay.
I'm going with Cleveland for the upset.
That would be a very impressive road victory.
Yeah.
Very impressive road victory for them to go to Mile High and get a victory there.
Talk about the Cleveland Browns, though, man.
Yeah.
What a bounce back for them. 5-7 and 1. That's been a great season. I know they're going to, I think they can really build from here. And they went through a roller coaster within themselves. But, look, 5-7, have a possibly go 6-7-1. I'm picking them.
Yeah, I'll take Denver at home. I think they're a little bit too much. I think Denver's going to finish 8-8.
They're trying to get into playoffs too as well.
Yeah,
so
and to me they're right, and to me they're the definition of a 500 team. It would only be fitting if they go 8-8 overall this year. And right, they're one of 3-4 teams. And I mean, look, if you look at it too, I mean, because the Broncos have 7 losses, so does the Browns. So you would think the loser of this game is definitely going to be all but out. and the winner will still hold on to somewhat of an opportunity to be in the hunt still in the AFC moving forward. But I think Denver probably a little bit too much at home at this point in time. But who knows? They've been so inconsistent this year, up and down. We'll see how it plays out. Arizona at Atlanta. Just one of the biggest disappointments in the league this year being the Falcons. I cannot believe, Keith, I got caught up in all the hype on that roster at the beginning of the season. I thought they could be a Super Bowl team. Wow, was I wrong on that one? I mean, 4-9, and the talk is that Dan Quinn it's very much up in the air whether or not Arthur Blank is going to bring him back, whether he's going to stay loyal to him or if they're going to move on. But something's got to change in Atlanta because it's just been an absolute train wreck.
They always say get rid of the offensive coordinator. No, the coach needs to go. The coach needs to go. You cannot be a Super Bowl team and your team be this awful.
They shouldn't be 4-9.
No,
there's no way.
This is clearly. I mean, Brad, half their team is. I mean, talent within itself can start any other franchise.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way they should be 4-9.
No,
there's way too much talent there. I get it. The defense hasn't been able to stop a nosebleed. That's been a big problem of their deficiencies there on that side of the ball, and they haven't been great on special teams either. But offensively, they should have been able to win more games this year. 4-9. I mean, if they were to lose out as well and finish 4-12, that would just be the epitome of it. Yeah. And looking at their schedule here down the stretch, I mean, they go division to finish the regular season after this Cardinals game this week. So if they don't win this game against Arizona, who's one of the worst teams, it could be tough. But
you don't want to lose to Arizona. You see what happens when you lose to Arizona. You get fired.
Exactly.
That's Green Bay's coach.
Exactly.
So I would advise Falcons to be a must win for him, or that's be his job on the line. I'll tell you that.
I'm going with Arizona. I think the Cardinals get it done.
I think I'm going with Arizona too. And the reason I'm going with Arizona because I want Atlanta Falcons to get better. To be honest with you, and I think they need to fire the coach. So I'm going with the Cardinals, man.
Tampa Bay at Baltimore. No Joe Flacco. He's healthy, but they're going to start Lamar Jackson, Keith. Thoughts?
That's my thought right there. Lamar Jackson has really clearly pissed me off, and for many reasons. It goes back to that Kansas City game. Here you had your team an opportunity to win the game, and again, you get it. You're injured. You fall down. You get a little banged up. But to me, when you get up and they put you on the sideline, and then your team, this is the last play of the game for them to get a first down, you need to be in that game. And they called the timeout and to make sure you're good. And they ran a play after they ran a third down play. And I figured he'll come in the fourth down play for that last play. And he was just standing on the sideline there. And they went with RG3. To me, that was your call as a coach, not a coach, but as a player. And you probably said, I don't want to go back in, or I'm injured, or whatever the case may be. You can tell. And so what that says, man, Lamar Jackson's not a winner, man, to me. Joe Flacco, I think he at least checked. I think next year he won't even be with the Baltimore Ravens. I think he'll probably be somewhere else for sure. But Lamar Jackson is not a leader right now. He's not a captain.
He's a rookie. He is a rookie, to be fair.
I don't care, man. He's not a winner, dude. It's just a difference.
I think it's too early to say that.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner. Like, you're a Heisman. You play at Louisville, and there's been times where you've been injured, and you get back in that game and you play. That's just the role of a player. That's a Goliath right there. That's supposed to be a warrior. These guys, man, it will take everything for Tom Brady to get pulled off the field. Aaron Rodgers, for that matter, who's proven. And we can go just down the line with many of quarterbacks.
I get it. He's got a ways to go in that category, but there's talent there.
There's talent, but I don't care, rookie or not, man. You're not a winner. You clearly don't have that winning mentality yet in you. So I'm going with Tampa Bay, man, even with them starting James.
Oh, wow. That's surprising me. Baltimore is so fascinating because really the pendulum could swing completely one way or another depending on how they finish this season. If they get into the postseason, win a playoff game, I think Harbaugh is back easily, and especially if they do this with Lamar Jackson, he obviously should be the quarterback of the future. If they miss the postseason, it's very possible Harbaugh is fired. They decide to completely move on from Flacco. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such up in the air. It could go completely one way or the opposite end of the spectrum there from Baltimore. With that being said, though, I think they rebound. I think they roll this week over Tampa Bay. Detroit at Buffalo. This is just a brutal matchup, however you slice it. I mean, Bills are 4-9. Detroit is 5-8. Two not very good teams overall.
Yeah, and this game right here is really not a game I'll probably not watch.
You and everyone else.
So I'm just going to throw out my guess, and I would say I'm going with Detroit for the simple fact that they're 5-8, and you got a better quarterback up in there. So I'm going with Detroit.
Yeah, I think, again, Detroit wins games that you'd think they'd lose, and they wind up losing games you think they should win. I'll take Buffalo at home. Green Bay at Chicago. Keith, the Bears should be going for the season sweep of the Packers, if not for a miraculous effort by Aaron Rodgers in week 1 when he came back in that game after injury. This time, I think Chicago gets some payback.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron Rodgers up there, he wants to salvage the rest of his season. He wants to be the spoiler. He wants to go out on the high note these next couple of games. I think Aaron Rodgers goes there, he gets it done, and I'm going with Green Bay.
Oakland at Cincinnati.
God. It just gets worse.
The Marvin
worse.
Lewis show.
It just gets worse and worse. The two worst coaches in the league. Yes, I said it.
Now, Oakland is playing with a little extra motivation now after what they did last week against Pittsburgh, a little more confidence.
Yeah.
Cincinnati is, well, Cincinnati.
Yeah, Marvin Lewis. I don't know. You know, this pick right here, listen, I'm flipping a coin, man. Heads or tails. Tails is Oakland, and heads if it's Cincinnati. So if I flip the coin and it's landing right now, I think it's going. I'm going to go with heads, and I'm going to say Oakland's going to win. That's going to be Oakland. So Oakland's going to win this game, and the reason why also I think they win this game is because they just again they're probably rolling off that Steelers win, and they just want to end on a good note. So I'm going with Oakland.
Quickly, Dallas at. I'll take the Raiders by the way as well. Dallas at Indy. Who you got in this one?
Oh, you know what? Dallas drops this game. I think Indy
after all these close wins they've had,
they dropped this game. Man, Andrew Luck's gonna go kazam on Dallas. Watch, he's gonna go crazy on them. And so I'm going with Indy. Or Indy's gonna win this.
I'll take the Cowboys on the road. Tennessee and the Giants.
Jesus, the Giants. You know what? I'm going to go with Tennessee. My reason why, Derrick Henry had a phenomenal game last week. I should have started him in my fantasy. But
minor details.
Yes, minor details there. But I had him on my bench at the last second. But I think with his performance he had last week, it's just going to give him more confidence. Know he can run like that. I think they're going to feed him the ball, continue. Even though the Giants are going to watch that, Giants aren't the best at the rush. Saquon Barkley's still going to do his thing. I think the defense, but on Tennessee, has picked it up a little bit. They know what's in stake. Playoffs. They know they need to get a win. So I'm going with Tennessee.
I will take the Giants in this one. A little more talent at home. I can't trust the Titans at this point. Seattle at San Francisco.
Oh, man. You know what? Just to throw insult to injury, I'm going with Frisco. Frisco's going to beat Seattle. Yeah, right.
No, not a chance. Russell Wilson, he puts on a show. And the Monday night game, Carolina hosting New Orleans.
Oh, I'm going with Cam Newton, baby. Cam Newton's going to get it done this week. Watch. You guys watch. He's trying to get in the playoff. Superman, baby.
Too much on the line for New Orleans. I mean, they're still fighting for that number one seed, the home field advantage. I got to go with the Saints and Drew Brees and company. They get it done on the road on Monday night. Hey, another great week. Great job all around here at the team behind the mic. We are back at it better than ever next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. For Keith, I'm Brad. Keep living the dream. Hey, thanks for checking out Behind the Mic with Brad Dalius. Be sure to like this video and subscribe. Hit that bell as well to get all of our notifications to stay up to date with everything we're putting out there. Thanks for checking in.